And we're back for another 90s tech video. This time we are finally going to be upgrading the CPU and level 2 cache in the new old stock 46 video series that I did a while back. And just kind of benchmark and see how they do. I'm gonna try really hard to keep this video well under 30 minutes, maybe well under 20 minutes. We'll see how I do. So you should see down in the corner what is on the screen here through my scaler and capture system. Also, if you want to see how I capture video, let me know in the comments. If I get enough comments, I will do a video on that. It's kind of a kludgy setup, but it works. The only downside is that depending on video modes and stuff like that, the picture will tend to shift a little bit. And normally what I do is I'd get up and I'd walk over and I'd adjust the scaler to move it over. But for this one, we're mostly going to be spending time in DOS, and I'd rather keep this looking the way it is here, and then in some games the picture will be shifted over to the right ever so slightly, so do apologize about that. Anyway, so I have a AMD 486 DX4-100 with 16K of level 1 cache, and then I think I have 256K of level 2 cache right here, and hopefully this bag is static safe, but this is how it came in the mail, so we'll see how that goes. Of course, I need the user manual to understand which jumpers to set for the CPU and for the cache. But yeah, so we're just going to quickly run some benchmarks to get a baseline, and then from there we'll install the new CPU, run some benchmarks, see if that helps at all, and then we'll install the level 2 cache, which I suspect will make a pretty big difference. So the first thing we're going to do is run Descent, I think. So for now, I actually have just the Descent demo installed. And this doesn't have a benchmark in it, but it should be pretty obvious. You'll see here in a minute that Descent 2 does not run, Descent 1 or 2, honestly, doesn't run terribly well on the system. So I'm just gonna run the pre-recorded demo that's built into the demo. And you should be hearing some cool MIDI music. I'm just gonna check it. Yep, looks like it's coming through okay on my capture laptop, which you can probably see right here in the corner. I just have it here on my desk. This is just an older Asus Ultrabook that I've had for a long time. All right, so let's run a demo. So as you can see, this demo runs pretty poorly. No frames per second or anything like that, but yeah, it's pretty rough. These small rooms do okay. But you get out into these bigger hallways, especially with lots of little laser bolts and stuff flying around. Explosions and things, it's not super great. So, all right, so that's one. All right, so we're gonna run just a couple of quick benchmarks. Let's run 3D Bench for faster PCs. Although it still runs pretty darn well. All right, so we are at 53.4 frames per second, so that's great. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and run Chris's 3D Bench. Yeah, we'll run the hard one. All right, so we got a bench score of 17.8. That is 10.7 frames per second, and I will press any key to continue. All right, last one. Let's go ahead and run the Quake time demo. We'll just run the basic one. This is going to be a little bit dark because I can't set any brightness or anything like that. So Please just bear with us. It's just got to get through the time demo so we can see what the end result is. All right, so we've got our result, 8.4 frames per second, 969 frames, 114.9 seconds. So not super great, especially for a DX4-100 in my opinion. And let's get the new processor installed, shall we? All right, interest of time, we've already got this all set up on the bench, and we're gonna go ahead and take out the CPU. And you're not gonna be able to see this terribly well. CPU is right there, but we'll work with what we got here. We're not gonna be here for very long. So let's go ahead and disconnect the hard drive LED. And you might recall, like a dummy, I used thermal compound, which apparently was totally not required. And look at that, it like barely touches the heatsink anyway, so oh well. And of course, before we pull this thing out, let's go ahead and wipe it off. And this, of course, will get a better clean once I have it out. Actually, it's not doing too bad. Just getting through that first layer. Yeah, it looks really nice. Even the sticker looks all right. All right, sorry I keep whacking the tripod. There's our 486. And the 16 in 100V 16B GC means that it is got the 16K cache. So we'll put this in, lift the arm, carefully take out the IBM. Okay, we're just making little teeny tiny adjustments here. Okay, I feel like that's definitely a step in the right direction. Man, what ham-fisted Neanderthal pulled this thing out of its original motherboard? All right, so we're getting there. It's looking way better. Just kind of looking at it long ways. Now I'm gonna rotate it. All right, so this one can move. All right, we are in. All right, let's clean off the goop. Now, a hero of mine, Phil of Phil's Computer Lab, somebody I'm a big fan of, was kind enough to respond to me on Twitter talking about cooling of a 486, and he doesn't even bother to use anything. He just puts the heatsink on the package and he's done. However, I have one of these graphite thermal pads, and it's probably completely overkill. It's also the wrong size, but I figure the thermal constraints on something like a 486 is gonna be pretty minimal. It's what, like a 5-watt CPU? I mean, geez, there are modern PC chipsets that put out more heat than that. And lucky me, mine looks to be scarred. There we go. Yeah, mine's got a scar in it, which sucks, but oh well. Yeah, this thing is way too small, but again, I don't think it's gonna be a problem. Just put that right there. All right. Heatsink seems like it's on there, nice and solid. All right, and let's turn it on. No, we can't do that. We need to set jumpers. Okay. All right, so let's see what we got here. CPU jumper settings. All right, JP 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. These are our CPU jumpers right there. And I'm going to take a picture of those just in case all this goes horribly, horribly wrong and I have to change them back. Okay. Okay, so this says 46 non-SL enhanced, which is some kind of power management sleep mode, something or other, says that an AMD DX4 runs at 3.3 volts. So to set that, we need to set jumpers 24, 25, and 26 to 1, 2. Okay, so it looks like we are at 3.3 volts already. Okay, yeah, according to this, the Wheeeee DX4-100 that I had in there was also set to 3.3 volts. All right, JP27 should be open, which means I'm probably gonna pull it, which because the Wheeeee says that it should be on 2.3. So JP27 needs to be open. Okay, JP27 is open. All right, JP29 needs to be open. Right here, this is the jumper block that we're working with. That's your CPU voltage selection. And JP27 through 30 is here. Ah, I get it now. JP30 is 4 jumpers. And so in this case, it's gonna be open, open. Whereas JP30 for something like a SL enhanced DX280 or the Wheeeee is 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this should power on. So let's go do that. Okay, this is what we call the smoke test. Does this work? I really hope so. So right now I just have the keyboard and the monitor and the power plugged in. That's it. I don't have any sound or anything like that plugged in. If it works, great. I'll put the side panel on and we'll go from there. So let's power it on. I have the video capture running, and whatever happens, you're gonna see it when I see it. So here we go. All right, that's a very good sign. Yep, that's normal for this keyboard. I guess I could have gone to the BIOS. Oh, I saw a DX4 something or other. Oh, AMD DX4 Plus, interesting. Spotted it on the video capture because it's a few seconds behind here. All right, so let's boot into DOS. Go to the F drive. Is it Tools? DOS Bench. Okay, and let's run sysinfo. Boom. All right, well, it says Wheeeee 46 88 megahertz, so that's wrong. Oh right, the mouse is not gonna work. Let's see. All right, so let's quit to DOS. Let's reboot. Where's the delete key on this keyboard? There we go. Wheeeee. Ah, wish I had the mouse installed. Let's see. I'm guessing this is not going to tell me anything about the CPU. Auto config. No. Yeah, all right, so yeah, we're not getting anything out of this. Okay, so I just want to see if this looks any better or worse. If memory serves, that is worse. So yeah, it's seeing it as an 88 megahertz 46, so we need to try and fix that. I think I have a multiplier wrong, is my guess. And we are back. I will put a picture up on the screen. You can see that I had the jumpers completely wrong. I completely misunderstood the diagram. So now it should show 100 megahertz. Let's find out. Once again, I've got the video recording. You should just see a black screen right now. I did plug in the mouse this time, so it should be a little bit easier. And here we go. Okay, monitor's coming on, that's a good sign. All right, wonderful. Okay, so let's let her boot. Go to the F drive, tools, DOS, bench, DOS bench, sysinfo. We have a working mouse. It still says Cyrix 4688 megahertz. Or Cyrix, excuse me. And if we do a DOS bench, we're seeing the exact same thing. So that is no good. No good at all. I wonder if this is a bus speed thing. It'd be an odd bus speed. Okay, well, that sucks. It's funny, I have most of the jumpers removed because that's what the manual says to do, but clearly I don't have it correct. 46DX. Math coprocessor internal. Oh, you know what? There was one thing I wanted to check. Okay, now it just says math coprocessor built in. It doesn't say 387, which is interesting. So let's go ahead and quit out of there. And yeah, back to the drawing board. So give me a minute. We'll try this again. Okay, so we're back. And I have this running faster than it was, but I feel like maybe I'm cheating or something. So what I failed to realize was that on the boot screen, it actually does show what the clock speed is. So let's go ahead and start recording, or I am recording. Let's go ahead and power it on. All right, and I'm gonna pause this on the summary screen with the pause key. All right, that's paused, and as you can see, it says AM46 DX4 plus 100 megahertz CPU clock. I double checked, and the last time I booted this up, and maybe even the time before that, well, maybe not the time before that, when I had all the jumpers wrong, it may have said 100 megahertz clock. I'd have to go back and look to see on the video that I've recorded to see if it's actually there. Maybe I'll put something, say here. The angle's kind of weird. That says what the clock speed was the very first time I powered this on. Since you just watched this and you're watching the shortened, edited version, maybe you knew exactly where to look. You already know. But anyway, it says 100 megahertz CPU clock, and that's with there's a particular jumper that's set to 2.3. I forget which jumper it is now, 29, I think. And but every time I got into the DOS bench utility, the system info utility, it would say Cyrix 88 megahertz, and I think it was misidentifying the CPU and the clock speed. It still says Cyrix 486 88 megahertz. So no good, right? Well, with this particular jumper configuration, because I kept thinking, what am I doing wrong? And I kept not noticing the clock speed on the summary, because it goes by pretty fast. I would go into benchmarks and it would show less than what I had before. Now, does that mean because the AMD 16K cache CPU is slower than the Cyrix 8K cache 100 megahertz CPU slash IBM? I don't know, maybe. But before, this was identifying as a Cyrix 486 100 megahertz. So we go to benchmarks, we go to CPU speed, and we can actually see we've gotten a substantial uplift in at least this benchmark, which is pretty cool. Before it was at like 190 something, if I recall, and now we're at above 211, which means that at least in this benchmark, this DX4-100 is currently performing faster than a Pentium 66, which is really cool. The downside, though, that I've noticed is heat doesn't seem to be a problem or anything like that. But if I hit the mode button on the case, which turns off turbo, it does nothing. So whatever I've done, whatever setting I've done here, it seems to have disabled turbo somehow. Anyway, it seems to work. Let's run our benchmarks. So that's benchmark number 1, I guess. Benchmark number 2. All right, and we're at 56.6. I don't remember what the previous score was. We'll put a summary at the end, but I'm pretty sure that is a uplift from before. All right, Chris's 3D benchmark, 640 by 480. All right, so we are a bench score of 22.6. I could have sworn it was at like 19 before, and the frame rate was closer to like 10. But again, I don't remember exactly. Again, I'll have a summary at the end here. All right, and then finally we're gonna run the Quake time demo. Okay, and this was definitely faster. I remember it taking over 100 seconds before. I don't remember the frame rate off the top of my head, but again, yet again, there will be a summary at the end of all this to see what our changes are. This one, of course, will have some audio. Uh-oh. And that's a hard lock, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Well, let's see, does it feel overly hot? No, CPU doesn't feel super hot. My guess is this will hard lock again. Oh, okay, it seems to be working now. So, you know, this is not a pure benchmark. I'm not going to get a score or anything like that. It seems slightly better to me. It's a little hard to tell. It seems better to me. It's still not 30 frames a second, but that seems better to me. Okay. Now, I have never had this computer lock up on me before. So maybe that's a fluke, I don't know. I mean, the nice thing about doing all this is that all this can be undone. I've still got all the jumper settings, I have the manual. I can take the IBM processor, put it back in here, set all the jumpers back, and get, you know, go back to that, whatever it is, 190 something for the CPU core instead of 160 whatever for this. So I don't know what's going on here, but let's go ahead and get the cache installed, and hopefully that all works okay, and then we'll bench it again. All right, and we are back yet again. Level 2 cache is installed. You should be seeing a before and after. I didn't record it, I just wanted to get the cache installed really quick. It's just some nerd pushing in a bunch of chips. So, oops, probably would help to plug in the computer. There we go. We are plugged in and booting up. All right, and then once again, we will use our handy dandy pause feature. Boom, 256K cache memory, cache money, 100 megahertz CPU clock, starting MS-DOS. All right, let's boot. Okay, so here's the thing. I did some quick initial tests before I started recording again, and the machine is just a little bit twitchy. It will occasionally lock up, or EMM386 will step in and say, hey, whoa, I'm having a problem, you gotta reset. So I think what I'm probably gonna end up doing is going back to the IBM 486 DX4-100, unfortunately, because I think what I have going on is I have a CPU that I have it overclocked or something somehow. It still says 100 megahertz, but I'm doing something wrong. Anybody watching this, if you know what the heck I'm doing wrong, please tell me. It's relatively easy to switch this back over, so yeah, tell me what I'm doing if you know. But so let's go ahead and run through our benchmarks. Let's go ahead and run Descent first this time. All right, we're in Descent. One of the best games ever made of all time. Come at me, bro. And again, yet again, and again, this is not a benchmark. It seems, I don't know, it seems about the same to me, if I'm completely honest. Certainly an improvement over the previous CPU and no cache at all, or an 8K cache. Absolutely, but I don't know, I can't really tell 100% if the cache is going to make any difference. And that's the thing about cache, you know, it's really just going to kind of depend on the program, how it's written, how it utilizes the CPU, things like that. So, you know, when you add something like cache, especially to something like a 486, you're definitely going to be limited by the actual raw processing power of something like a 486. All right, so we're gonna try and run sysinfo. Okay, it actually started this time. Okay, it looks like the CPU speed's about the same. I'm not surprised. This is probably just a basic arithmetic style test. It's kind of funny, this is a real-time test and you move the mouse around and the CPU has to go deal with that, and so you lose a little bit of speed there. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do 3D bench. All right, 63 frames a second is definitely a noticeable improvement, or a marked improvement at least. All right, now let's run Chris's 3D benchmark. And there's our score, 22.4, and that's 13.4 frames per second. Not sure if that's any better or markedly better. And let's run the time demo. If it runs without crashing. Boom, 92.2 seconds. Pretty sure that is a improvement. I feel like the frames per second isn't any better though, I'm not really sure. Again, review footage afterwards. All right, so the last thing to do, honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and put the old CPU back in. Kind of bumming me out, unfortunately. but I'm gonna put the old CPU back in because it was nearly as fast. But this setup is twitchy with this CPU the way I have it. So I'm gonna put all the stupid jumpers back in, put the CPU back in the way it was, run these benchmarks one more time, and see how we come up. So hopefully this works. I have put the IBM/Cyrix, you know, I don't even think it is a Cyrix processor. I think it's just being misidentified. It says IBM on it. I'm gonna call it IBM. I know IBM made 46s for a while. It's an IBM. Anyway, let's power it on and see what happens. All right, the monitor's coming on. That is a good thing. Counting our RAM. I'm gonna pause it again. .100 MHz CPU clock, CX486 DX4. See, that's why I think it's the Cyrix, because Cyrix is usually CX, right? I don't know. If somebody knows, please correct me in the comments. All right, so let's boot her up. I'm gonna skip descent this time in the interest of time, since it's not an actual benchmark. 3D bench. $59.5, couldn't break 60. That makes me sad. Chris's 3D bench. Bench of 17.7, which is pretty bad. Wasn't I getting like 21 before? All right, and quick time demo. .7 frames per second. Wow. I feel like this is even worse than the AMD CPU when it was supposedly clocking or benching in the utility slower than this CPU. Okay. Cyrix 486, 100 MHz. See, it identifies that correctly. Well, at least the 100 MHz part. And 168, 169, that's pretty much right where it was before. That is so odd. Oh yeah, and turbo works. If I go here and click on mode, boom. It's like way slower than a 386 even. So, I don't know. I'll put the numbers up on the screen. You should be looking at them now. I'm currently not looking at them. But I'm hoping that these numbers will show something really interesting. So again, if any of you out there watch this and know what caused this, please let me know. I would love to use the AMD processor. It definitely is faster, but having it at that higher clock speed or whatever was going on with that seemed to cause the system to be a bit twitchy. Now I could maybe try and fiddle with the VLB bus speed, the wait state for below or at or above 33 megahertz for the VLB bus, but the video local bus. But yeah, so that's where we are. It's been an interesting journey to get through this video. I'm gonna leave the system as it is for the time being, and we'll see where things go. Again, if anybody out there has any solutions for this, please definitely let me know. I would love to get some more info on this. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to run some descent to round things off a little bit here. And I played this earlier before I started recording this video, and I'm just going to be curious to see if this feels any faster with the exact same processor but 256K of cache. And like I was saying before, you know, how much performance uplift you get with cache is really going to depend on the program you're running. And I can say right now, this feels a lot better. Now, these are some fairly narrow hallways. Ow. And it's still kind of framey and crappy, but I think it's... I feel it's more smooth. It really is definitely an improvement. Is it as much of an improvement as I would have liked it to be? Not really. Whoops. But yeah, it definitely feels better. This feels more like I remember it when I had a 486 back in the day. Oh crap. Huh, my mouse stopped working. Okay, well, I guess that'll end this video. Thanks again. I try and release a video every other week. So this video should release a week after my last video to get myself back on my normal release schedule. So thanks for coming all the way to the end, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks if all goes well. And who knows, maybe I'll have an update on the 486. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Keep it 90s.